In this video demonstration, we'll take a quick look at the data module functionality within Cognos Analytics 11.1. We'll start by uploading some source files, in this example 2 sample CSV files. We'll see how we can manipulate the data properties, do some data transformation, data creation. We'll create a calculation within our data module, and then we'll go ahead and test that data module to make sure that it's functioning as expected. In a previous video demonstration, we reviewed the new exploration functionality within Cognos Analytics 11.1 and took a look at some of our reseller sales fact information indicated in this CSV file here. And this is transactional information about sales orders placed by our resellers. And as we can see in this data source, column E is the reseller key, which is the ID code for each individual reseller. And for end users or consumers, codes are not very useful or practical. Of course, they would rather see the actual reseller name. So in this example, we actually have another CSV file that just includes information about each individual reseller. So not only the reseller name, as we can see here, but we also have the business type, we have some phone information, we have the ID number, address information, some annual sales information, lots of great info. We'll quickly create a data module combining these two data sources into one to be able to report off of them together. We'll start by dragging and dropping our data files into our Cognos Analytics environment. We're prompted to create a data module exploration or dashboard. In this example, we'll choose the data module option. We can see the files are being read in. And once the files are successfully read in, we're presented with our data module creation environment. On the left side here, we have our resellers table and our reseller sales facts table corresponding to the two files we read in. If I expand my reseller sales facts, we can see all the columns from that data source. And you'll notice that each individual data item is indicated by an icon here, either a pound sign for the numeric data, ABC for descriptive information. Then we also have a right square here for our fact or measure-based information. And if I expand resellers here, in here we can see we have some time-based information as well as geography-based information. Cognos is pretty good about identifying the correct data type, but not always perfect. So for example, in our reseller sales fact table, we have this sales order number, and Cognos has identified this as a fact or a measure information when I know this is actually a code and more descriptive information. So I'll go ahead and click the ellipsis next to that data item, come down to the data properties, and you can see I can specify and change the property here. I'll change this from a measure to a identifier. In addition to doing data prep and cleansing, we can also do on-the-fly calculations. So for instance, if I wanted to get a variance between, say for instance, my total product cost versus my sales amount, I could go ahead and control click both data items here, right click, and choose Create Calculation. You'll see it presents me with the calculation editor here. It's going to give me a name. I could change that, but I'm just going to leave it as is right now. And instead of doing a sum of total product cost and sales amount, I actually want to see the variance. So I'm going to change the operator to my minus symbol. You could also invoke the calculation editor here if you wanted to do a more advanced or complicated calculation or manually get involved with it. For right now, we'll just go ahead and click OK. And we can see the new column of data here in our source list, and we can also see the rendered information here. Now right now there's a lot of decimal places here to these numbers, so I'm going to go ahead and just select my calculated data item, right click, and choose Data Format. And I'll just go ahead and quickly format this as currency and click OK. So right now we have two CSV files that were imported, our reseller sales fact information and our resellers information. But right now there's no relationship between these two pieces of information. So what I want to do is go ahead and define a relationship between them. So if I select my diagram icon here, you can see I have my two tables, my resellers table and my reseller sales facts table. If I select resellers, then control click and select my reseller sales fact table, right click and choose create relationship. I'm presented with my create relationship wizard, and in this example I know that every individual reseller in my resellers CSV file correspond to multiple orders in my reseller sales fact table. So I'll create a relationship in my resellers table between my reseller key and my reseller key and my sales fact information. I can click my match selected columns, then click refresh, and now I've created a relationship between my reseller key in both files. And to the left, I can see all of the fields from my reseller sales table. And to the right of the defined relationship, I can see all of my reseller sales fact information. You can see down here in the bottom that my join has been identified as an inner join, meaning I'm returning only matching rows between the two tables, and it's a one-to-many relationship. I could modify this if need be. I could change it to another type of join, change the cardinality, or add filtering. In this example, I'll leave everything as is, and I'll click OK. And now we can see that between our two tables here, we have a one-to-many relationship. In this example, I only have two data sources, so there's only two sources to create a relationship between, but you could potentially have multiple data sources, multiple CSV files, perhaps a relationship to an enterprise framework manager package. There's a lot to data prep and data modeling that should go into consideration that we're not even touching on here, so just kind of keep that in mind. We can test and validate the data module prior to making it available for consumption by end users by clicking the Try It option at the upper right of the environment. And clicking Try It will launch Cognos Analytics reporting and present us with a blank list report that we can use to populate with our data module objects. Go ahead and expand my reseller sales fact. And here at the top, we can see that calculated data item that we created within this data module. Can go ahead and drag and drop that in. And now we can see a aggregated value for that, 103,388,081. And let me go ahead and continue to populate this. I'll come to my resellers table and expand that. And maybe we want to look at it by business type. And then also I'll come get reseller name and drag and drop that in as well. And it all looks to be functioning and working properly. I can go ahead and apply some grouping. Of course, I'm just testing this model here, so any of this kind of stuff I'd want to do in an actual report that I was developing. But we can see that the columns are grouping and the data is coming back. And of course, I could see not only the information from the reseller table, but also the reseller sales fact table and my generated item here as well. And this data module appears to be working okay, so we could go ahead and publish it out or continue to develop it as needed. Keep a lookout for a future video where we use this data module to create a dashboard. Thanks for watching.